Hi, welcome to Module 3. So for Module 3, we'll be continuing our discussion about the effects of religion on morality and ethical processes. And here we'll dive into the writings and the thoughts of Frederick Nietzsche, who really led the modern reconsideration of this. Um, and makes the point that that again, much like Rachel's in our text, that you cannot reconcile the absolute knowledge, power um, of a of a god or religious figure with human morality and ethics. And um, here's the example that Nietzsche kind of uses. Imagine, we'll take a moment and make a list, two lists actually, on paper or in your head or on your phone, whatever, tablet. Um, and on one side, we're going to be listing the things that religion, and you can use your own if you have one or the one you were raised in or whatever, um, the things that religion said explicitly in their holy text says are immoral or unethical, immoral. And on the other side, make a column that of secular values, so what the things that the secular world has decided at this point in our history are wrong. So, for example, on the religious side of the column, you'll find things like the Ten Commandments or the seven deadly sins. Just depends on what religion you're looking at. Um, so, in addition to things like maybe don't murder and don't steal, which are good ideas, you'll also find things like don't take my name in vain. If you're speaking from a religious authority point of view, don't take the God's name in vain. Don't covet other things or other possessions. Don't all these other things that are what one writer once called divine throat clearing. Have no other gods before me, that kind of thing. Whereas on the secular side um, of the ledger, of the list, you'll definitely have things like torture is terrible and to be avoided and shunned, and slavery is a universal evil, and so is genocide. These are things that we have decided over the long and unfortunately brutal history of humanity are terrible and unforgivable things. Yet, as Nietzsche would point out, and just about anyone can point out, things like torture, slavery, and genocide are often not forbidden in religious texts. In fact, many religious texts, and we can say the Bible specifically, um, not only condones things like slavery and torture and genocide, it requires it in some cases and tells you the right way to do it. And so Nietzsche would say, hey, um, you can't claim to be moral if you follow religious teachings that clearly embrace immoral acts. So, and that applies he was operating in a largely Christian atmosphere, but that would be universal. That would be applied to all religions. That is a core problem from Nietzsche's point of view, and from the modern conflict between um, religious points of view for morality and secular points of view for morality. You're also going to explore someone by the name of Ayn Rand, who is a 20th century thinker and writer, um, who also rejects religion as a source of morality, but does it from a completely different point of view, namely the point of view that selfishness is good, and thinking and caring about other people is actually not so good of an idea. Um, some would argue that I'm simplifying that, but that's how it comes across to me. I will leave you to your own opinion. Um, it's interesting that a number of our political thinkers in the United States today, while publicly embracing religious thought or basis for their public stances, also embrace the selfishness of Ayn Rand, who herself explicitly rejected religion. So it's one of those convoluted justifications that many people make because they are not making thoughtful inquiry into their own ethics and morals. We'll touch on the three core flavors of ethical theory, or we'll begin to touch on them, I should say. Those three areas are virtue ethics, which have their foundation in the writings of Aristotle. Teleological ethics, which, and by the way, virtue theory says, deals in questions of how we should be. So you should be generous. You should be tolerant. You should be involved with civic duties, these types of things. And that by following those virtues, you'll be a good person. Teleological doesn't worry so much about how you should be. It worries about the outcomes of your actions. So very much the ends justify the means. That if you've done something and you can argue or observe or measure that it did good, then regardless of how you got there, you're being a good person. Some real problems embedded in that point of view. And then deontology, which is building your ethics from principles. And so, for example, if lying is always bad, or if lying is bad, I should say, if telling a lie is bad, then deontology would say, okay, if a lie is bad, then it's always bad. There's never a situation where you should lie, even if it would save someone's life, because those types of things, principles, are universal and absolute. If something's good, it's good. It's always good. If it's bad, it's always bad. Also, major problems with that point of view as well, at least from my perspective. I'm sure you can think of a few yourself. So, if you have any questions, let me know, and good luck on Module 3. I look forward to your insights and your discussions.